Hello, my name is Arun Shrestha and welcome to my video where I'll be talking about some common errors that novice Java programmers make. In this video, I'll be talking about some incompatible type errors. Here we have a student class from our previous video. This class has 4 attributes: name, surname, age, and marks, along with constructor and few methods such as getName, getSurname, getAge, and grade. So for our first example, let's create a method that changes the value of marks. So we have public void change marks, and then let's have the user insert a new mark, and for the sake of the example, let's say we declare a string new mark, and then all we have to do is say marks equals new mark. Now straight off the bat we have a red line over here and it says incompatible types required int but found java.line.string. The reason for this is because we've declared the new mark to be of type string and the type of marks is int appear. Then what we're doing is we're saying mark which is of type int equals new mark which is of type string. There are a couple of ways you can fix this. In IntelliJ, if you press Alt Enter, it will give you a list of ways that you can fix this. The first option suggests that I change marks type to string. However, doing this might result in some other problems elsewhere since attribute marks was already there and we might be using it elsewhere in the code. What I mean by this is, let's say I change it to string. Then we have another issue here. Here we required a string, but we found an int. And we have some more errors down here. When debugging, you should be really careful when you're about to change a piece of code that already exists, since changing that might cause errors elsewhere in the code. In our example, since we're introducing a new element called new mark, we know that by changing the data type of new mark from string to int, we will not have any issues elsewhere since we haven't used this new element elsewhere. So let's change the parameter new mark type to int, refactor, and the incompatible type error shouldn't be there anymore. Another error of the same kind you might come across when working with methods is when you're dealing with return types. Our changeMark method is of type void, meaning it does not expect any return. So if we were to change the code by adding return marks, then the IDE will give us an error saying it's of incompatible type. So when you have an error that says unexpected return value, check if your code is expecting a return statement or not. Now let's create another method that will return the mark when invoked. If we were to declare this method public string getMark and then return marks, we would have another incompatible type error. This is because by stating public string, we are expecting a return of type string. However, return marks returns an int value. So the method should actually be public int. When creating methods, first think of what you want the method to do. If you want it to return a value, then what kind of value are you expecting it to return? Is it string? Is it int? If you don't expect the method to return anything, then check if the method is of type void. Another place you might come across this error is when you're passing parameters. In our main class, let's create an instance of class student. So student equals new student. Now our student needs four parameters: student name, student surname, student age, and student marks. So let's pass these parameters. For our name, let's give it Arun. Surname Shrestha. For age, let's give it 22. And for marks, let's give it 60. Now, when you compile this, here we get another incompatible type error. It says string cannot be converted into int. This is because the constructor of class student expects us to pass parameters of type string, string, int, and another int in that order. However, what we've done here is we've passed in parameters of type string, string, int, and another string. So whenever you come across this error again when you're dealing with method calls and passing parameters, make sure the parameters you're passing are of right type. So here, let's just get rid of the quotation marks to turn that into int. And if you compile that, there should be no errors. Another place beginner programmers make a mistake at when passing parameters is that they pass the data type as well. So here, if we did int 60, we would get an error. They get confused with declaring parameters and passing parameters. You declare a parameter when you're declaring a method. For example, in our student class, let's look at the constructor here. We are telling the compiler that whenever this constructor is being invoked, check if the user has provided a specified number of data and if the data specified are of right type. So in our case, the compiler will check if the user has provided us with 4 sets of values for name, surname, age, and mark each of type string, string, int, and int. This here is declaring the parameter. Passing parameter is when you're invoking declared methods. For example, when you're creating an instance of student, you invoke the declared constructor. So you're required to pass 4 parameters of specified data type. However, you do not need to type in the data type again. You just need to pass in the value itself, as I've done here. Here is another example where you might come across incompatible type error. Here we have a code which converts Fahrenheit into Celsius. So we have two variables, int Fahrenheit and int Celsius, and to convert we're doing Fahrenheit minus 32 and times that value by the result of 5 divided by 9. So if we compile this program, we get 0, which isn't correct. 40 Fahrenheit is about 4.4445 Celsius. The reason for this error is because we have 5 divided by 9, which are both of type int. And the thing about int is that it only stores whole numbers. So when we do 5 divided by 9, we get the value 0.55555. But since int only stores whole numbers, anything after the decimal is omitted. Therefore, we're only left with 0, and anything multiplied with 0 is 0. So what we can do here is turn 5 into 5.0 and 9 into 9.0. This turns the data type into double. However, we also get an incompatible type error. This is because we're working with double, but we're trying to store that value into a variable of type int. This error can be fixed in a couple of ways. The first way is if we cast the expression as an int. While doing this makes the program work. This will result in a loss of precision as anything after the decimal still gets omitted. The other solution is if you change the type of Celsius into double by doing it like this. And if you compile, we should get 4.44445. If you want to know more about primitive data types, then I'll provide a link for that in the description, so you can go ahead and look at that. I will also provide a link in the description if you want to learn more about casting. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you guys next time.